This is Sue Jackson of the Book by Book blog, here for another Friday Reads. The book I am currently reading is My Name is Memory by Anne Brashares. Now, if that name sounds a little familiar to you, it's probably because she's the author of the YA books, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and all of its sequels, so you may have heard of her there. I believe this is her second adult novel, but the first one that I've read. This was the choice for one of my book groups this week. And while I did not quite finish it in time for last night's Zoom meeting, I am really enjoying it. The premise of this book is a little bit hard to describe. The main character is Daniel, who has lived many, many lifetimes. His first life was in 541 AD, and Daniel says, as the narrator, that plenty of people live multiple lifetimes, but most people don't remember their past lives, and that he's different, not completely unique. He knows there are a few others like him, but he's different because he does remember every life he's lived, going all the way back to the 500s, and he remembers details. Every language he's ever learned, the instruments he's learned to play. He's got a lot of knowledge. So in 2006, where the novel opens, Daniel is a teenager in Virginia attending high school. And he's in that place because he has tracked down the love of his life, the love of his lives. She's currently a 17-year-old girl named Lucy, but Daniel thinks of her as Sophia because that's who she was when he first fell in love with her centuries ago. So Lucy and Daniel's lives have crossed many times over the years. They've crossed paths in many different lifetimes together, but Daniel remembers all of it and Lucy does not. So even the times when she fell in love with him, she doesn't remember that. She just thinks she's an ordinary, 17-year-old teenage girl. So the novel moves back and forth from the present day, where Daniel and Lucy know each other but aren't quite connecting, to Daniel's past lives. So it's gradually filling in some of the details that led Daniel to this point. So the reader gets to know more throughout the novel about Daniel's past lives and how they led to this moment. I'm really enjoying this novel. The funny thing is, when I first read the premise, I wasn't sure what to think, but I've always been fascinated by the concept of reincarnation, and I'm really enjoying it. I was engrossed in the story from the first pages, and I can't wait to see how it ends. On audio, I'm listening to Heart Spring Mountain by Robin MacArthur. I had started this one last week, but I barely knew anything about it at that time. So I'm quite a bit further into it now. It's about a woman named Val who works in New Orleans as a bartender. And in 2011, Tropical Storm Irene hits her home state of Vermont. The damage there is pretty devastating, terrible flooding. A bridge goes out, and she gets a phone call that her mother, Bonnie, is missing. She was last seen on a bridge that's no longer there, so, people are worried that the worst has happened. Even though Val and Bonnie have been estranged for many years, Val hops on a bus, travels to Vermont, and joins to help in looking for her mother. So Val is suddenly, after years away, immersed back in the place of her childhood. Not just her hometown, but her family, the places where she had lived previously. The novel moves back and forth in time, with narrators switching from one person to another. So you get a glimpse into the lives of Val's mother, her grandmother, her great aunt, her great grandmother. In all, there are 5 generations of women whose voices are heard in this novel, all leading to Vale, of course. So all of the generations have grown up in a remote part of the Vermont woods, in simple cabins surrounded by nature. So the natural world plays a huge role in this novel. There are beautiful descriptions of the wildlife and the flora and fauna, just the whole everything surrounding Vale. So as the novel continues, the reader is gradually learning more about Vale's family and what's happened in the past. Well, in the present day, Vale is uncovering some long-held family secrets. It moves back and forth like that. With the audiobook, I was a little confused at the beginning by so many different female characters and different times, but I made myself a little family tree on a Post-it, just a little thing that helps straighten it out. And I've got everyone straight now, and I'm really enjoying this novel. And I'm really interested to see where it goes and what happens next. So, what are you reading this weekend?